All right, we are live.
Hello, good day, everyone. Today we have myself, Tina Gillespie La Borde, supervising attorney with Legal Aid of North Carolina in the Charlotte office. And I'm also joined by my colleague, Catherine. Catherine, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, I'm Catherine Hutasuhut. I am a staff attorney with Legal Aid of North Carolina in the Domestic Violence Division. And I'm delighted to be joining y'all.
As I am as well. So Catherine, today we're going to speak to the public about the operations of the courts, particularly in Mecklenburg County, what folks can expect if they need to file for a protection order. And also we're going to go over a little bit later how to file in general in North Carolina and what the courts would expect to meet the threshold to obtain a protection order. So if you'd like to take it away to talk about the operations, now would be a good time to do that.
Sure. Since COVID-19, all the courthouses in North Carolina have changed how they operate. Mecklenburg County is no exception to this. And each county is operating slightly different. So in Mecklenburg County, from what you could expect in going into the courthouse, first off, it is a mask mandatory space. All parties coming to court are required to wear a mask. If you suspect you've been in contact with somebody with COVID, the court asks you to not come to the courthouse and notify the court if you have court business. When you come to the courthouse, the court is open and available for hearings for domestic violence. They are having hearings between the hours of 9 and 12 in the morning, and then again in the afternoon for the ex parte hearings. Hearings, though, for 1-year orders and on motions are heard in the morning from 9 to 12. Court is currently being held on the 4th floor in courtrooms 4110 and 4130. But of course, as anything happens, the court has sometimes moved those courtrooms, but currently they're in 4110 and 4130. Okay. When a party comes to the courthouse, the court has asked that only essential parties come to court. Currently, the courthouse daycare, the Larry King Center, is closed. There is no childcare being provided. So if you have to bring children into the courthouse, it's advised to try to find alternative care if you can. Children are not necessarily barred, but the court does seek to not have children there. The parties that go into the courthouse, when you enter the building, there are sanitation stations. You will want to give yourself time to go through the security line. There's socially distanced space. It is 6 feet apart at all times. And so you'll need to give yourself time to go through that security line. Once you get through the security line, you will enter into either you can take the elevator. They're limiting the number of people in elevators. You'll see footprints on where to stand. I believe currently it's 3 people in an elevator at a time. So of course, if you're coming with a larger group, you will be separated. The alternative is there are stairs. You can take a staircase all the way up to the 4th floor. Once you get to the 4th floor, there are deputies there. There will be a roll call done by the clerk. What I've seen recently is actually there's a deputy as well that will do an initial roll call. You could speak to a deputy and tell them that you are there on what they're for court business. But when the clerk of court will come out the clerk for 4110 will come out and will call your name, it is your duty to listen very carefully when they call out your name and to answer up that you are present. If they do not hear that you are present, they will assume that you are not, and there's a chance your case will be dismissed. The clerk will ask you not to crowd the space. They do try to speak effectively and loudly. Again, on the 4th floor, there are also sanitation stations. The bathrooms are open. So if you need to use the restrooms, you can. Once you are in the courthouse and your case is called, they are currently doing, they're calling the cases in, and the parties whose cases are being heard are going into the courtroom. That hasn't always been the case. In some cases, the court changes it as they see fit. And I will say that each week is different. Courtroom etiquette will be that the parties who are litigating, so the plaintiff and the defendant, will go in. If they have attorneys, they will go in the courtroom. But if you have brought support people, emotional support, they will not be allowed inside the courtroom. They will be required to stay outside of the courtroom. And so parties need to be aware of that fact. Your case will be called, and the judge will ask you to both go to the tables. Plaintiff will be on the left, defendant will be on the right. I have seen on one occasion where when an attorney present, they've actually asked parties to take the witness stand, but the typical practice is that parties are testifying from the table, not from the witness stand. And that's to maintain social distance. The clerks are sanitizing the tables, but I would advise if you're going and you want to just have extra security to go ahead and bring your own sanitizer. The court doesn't look at parties negatively if they wipe down the table and the Bible that they swear to. Once the case is completed, if parties would like, and I didn't mention this earlier, if you are feeling you don't want to bring your support people with you, you can contact the sheriff's office and ask for an escort if you're coming alone and you are concerned for your safety getting into the courthouse. You can request an escort into the courthouse. You can also, after the hearing is done, request an escort out of the courthouse. That is something that you can, you have a right to do. Now, there is also an important person who's in the courthouse currently, Miss A.B. Williams. She is a representative from Safe Exchange, which is a Mecklenburg County service for parties who have custody matters. And with those of you that have a custody matter, she is the person that you can speak to about signing up for having custody exchange take place at Safe Exchange. They are open as well for supervised visitation. In addition, as far as other places that you need to know about within the courthouse for purposes of filing, and I know Tina will be speaking further about the filing process, but the filing, the area where you'll go to file any documents will be the third floor. And the other place that's open is the self-service center, and they have additional documents such as if you're filing divorce paperwork and are looking to file a custody complaint, you can get some of those documents there to do your filing. But the clerk's office is on the third floor, and that's where you would be going if you need to file any other documents. And in terms of the courthouse itself, they are working very hard to maintain sanitation standards. They continue to change them and try to improve them as time proceeds forward. And Tina, I'll hand you over for the details as far as the filing, which is the most important part for our clients, understanding how to file a DVPO in Mecklenburg County and the nuances.
Thank you, Catherine. So it's really important to know some of these tips for completing your forms, which specifically include the complaint that you're going to be filing if you need to seek for a protection order. If you need assistance filling out your complaint, we also want to let you know that we have partners in the community. One of our main partners for accepting clients at this time to help complete the forms, whether that's by giving advice over the telephone or by having them to type up your complaint so that you can pick it up at their office. They are taking specific appointments, and that's Safe Alliance. I would like to now offer the telephone number for their helpline if you would like to get assistance with actually completing the paperwork prior to making a trip to the courthouse to file it. Their hotline is 980-771-4673. That's 980-771-4673. If you would like to complete this paperwork on your own and you still would like assistance from legal aid, you can still contact us or Safe Alliance or our partners, the Charlotte Center for Legal Advocacy, which is also located in our same building off of 1431 Elizabeth Avenue. Right now, we have a skeleton crew at the offices, and we're not accepting for anyone from the general public to come inside. However, we have forms on the outside of the office at 1431 Elizabeth Avenue. If you have an issue and would like to fill out one of those forms, you can leave it at the drop box and someone would contact you. If you would like to call us and you need help with filing or need more information, our number is 704-376-1600. That's 704-376-1600. And make sure that you follow the prompts for domestic violence if that's your specific need. So at this time, let's talk about tips for what you would like to put in your complaint. There's been various opinions about how some of the recent Supreme Court cases Court of Appeal cases out of North Carolina have rendered what you should put in your complaint. So we suggest that you be more thorough so that you can prohibit delays in having your case heard or risk having your case dismissed. Therefore, we would recommend that you put down the specific date of the incidents. If there's more than one incident, list each incident and put the date before you talk about the incident. If you do not know the specific date and you cannot recall the date, if you can recall the month and the year, we encourage you to put down the month and year of the incident. After you put down that date, we would ask that you detail what occurred to you. And also try to put down how it made you feel. If it made you feel fearful, afraid, terrified, if it changed your habits, if you had to, it caused you to start having to look over your shoulder, you know, changing your mode of operation from your day to day, we ask that you submit that to the court also in your paperwork. If you have past incidents, let's say something happened in 2020, but you also had incidents in 2019 and prior, or even prior to this month, you will want to note those as well. If you do not add those to your complaint, as we know that the law at this time stands, you may not be able to talk about that when you get to court. Those past incidents helps to inform the court of your fear. It helps informs the court of exactly what's going on with you now relative to what was going on in the past, and creates a holistic picture of what you've been going through with the defendant. So we encourage you to also put in there the details of past incidents. Be specific in your facts, and also be specific in the dates that these occur. I cannot stress that enough. Try to give a roundabout. If you don't know the time, you can say on or about, and then put a month or a year, and a month and a year, if that's what you have. So with that, we also know that in the complaints, you can speak about how this has affected children in your life. If you have children and you have children with the other party, you will want to seek temporary custody unless there's another reason for you not to. We encourage you to look over the forms thoroughly and make sure that you check the boxes for seeking temporary custody. There's an affidavit form that also goes with that for child custody. So make sure that the clerk gives you the paperwork. If you're on your own, you definitely want to assure that the clerk gives you the paperwork that includes the affidavit to seek child custody. You will complete all of those forms, check all of the appropriate boxes for relief. Make sure you look through it thoroughly, and then you will sign that paperwork in front of the clerk who will notarize it if you are at the window doing it at that time. Also, please keep in mind that you will be completing a form that's called the summons. The summons is the document that is used by the sheriff's office to attempt service on the defendant and to let the defendant know that they have been summoned to come into court on your domestic violence complaint. If the sheriff cannot locate that person after several attempts, they will report back that it was unserviceable. That means they could not locate the person. Due process requires that a person cannot have a case move forward in the court against another party, in this case, the defendant, unless they have been able to get the person served. You want to make sure that you give as much information on that summons sheet that you can. When it asks for additional addresses or workplaces, please be sure to add that information in. If you're not very sure where the person lives at this time because they have left the residence, you can also give alternative addresses where you think they may be, including telephone numbers. If the person has a prior criminal conviction and you know that they are on parole, we encourage you to reach out to the parole office and see if you can get some information there on how to get in contact and have the sheriff to serve the person. In addition to that, work schedule is important. If you know the shift that the defendant works, you want to add that information also. When the sheriff goes out and attempts service, if they go on the wrong shift and the defendant is not there at that location at that time, that's one trip down. and one less trip that you have to attempt service through the sheriff's office on that person. So we want to make this as easy as it can be as a process of service for the sheriff who are trying to help you locate the defendant. We have had clients, and we know people in the public who have gone to court and their cases have been dismissed after perhaps appearing in court 2 times and the person has not been served. Once again, this is because of due process rights. We ask that you be encouraged, that you not give up. If you need help in terms of service and you would like to know of alternative ways to try to get the defendant served, you can also ask those questions of the attorneys that you speak with at our office. We can help you with that. Make sure that you have your evidence together. You want to be prepared for that, for your court date when your actual return hearing happens. You want to make sure that you have photographs. If you have text messages between yourself and the defendant, if you have social media messages, we ask that you screenshot those if you're using a smartphone, or if you have the device and someone can take a picture of those messages showing on your screen, we ask that those pictures be taken and that you print them. They do not have to be photo Kodak quality that you print off at a drugstore. They can be from your regular printer or any printer. So we ask that you try to have that evidence together, especially if you do not have an attorney who's assisting you. You want your best shot the first time that you have your return hearing to prove that the defendant is in fact committing domestic violence acts against you. Catherine, is there anything else we'd like to add to that?
I think you've covered everything in terms of expectation. The one thing I would share for parties to expect is the judge you may see for your ex parte is not necessarily going to be the judge you're going to see when you come back for your 1-year hearing. It might be, but they are operating on a rotational basis. So understand that you may be telling your experience not once but twice to two different audiences, and to be prepared for that as a litigant. What Tina has shared regarding the issue of evidence and coming prepared for that evidence, to make sure that when you are in court, to let the judge know that you have evidence, and to go through the process of offering that evidence, to tell the judge how you have this evidence. If you took pictures, that you took the pictures when you took them, and that you want the judge to see them, because that's very important if you have proof that supports what you are saying in court, to help you get that 1-year order.
Thank you, Catherine. That is so important. And so if you're in Mecklenburg County and you're looking to file for a protection order, remember that the hours of operation, that the window on the 3rd floor, the domestic violence window where the clerk will accept your complaint, is open from 9 to 12, 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. At that juncture, you will be offered to have an ex parte hearing in the courthouse in one of the courtrooms, either in the morning session or the afternoon session. It all depends on what time you get to the courthouse to actually file your complaint, but you should have an ex parte hearing within the same day. We are grateful for what the court has done in Mecklenburg County to make strides, considering the pandemic that we are all facing, and we're all terrified about what's going on in the community. However, the court has made great strides in making sure that the court is open to hear your concerns and to provide justice in an efficient manner, and to get you in and out of the courthouse and render a decision. Please remember that it will not always be that the court will rule in your favor because of your domestic violence situation. If you need further information after your case, feel free to reach out to us. Feel free to get information from us. Feel free, and we encourage you to try to reach us before you go to court. If we cannot represent you one-on-one, we can provide the best information that we can to allow you to know what your best chances are of getting an order, and how to best be prepared for court and for what's going to be on the other side when you get there. We thank you so much for your time today, and we hope that this information has been helpful to you. Take care.
Take care.